Okay, so these are the lower control arms, I think, right?
Yeah, from a 2009 6 Series BMW. It's a LCI E63.
So David came over today and wanted to use my press to press new bushings in it. And in typical German fashion, there's something that's, freaking weird, of course. So it's an aluminum outer housing with rubber, and then you have your inside, your inside standoff that holds it. And this is the one that we just removed. I wasn't going to video this originally, but these are a little bit funky. So I used just some ball joint sleeves to press it out, and that didn't work great, but we got it out. So there's two of them. They're both a little different. This is for one side. I don't know which side that would be, front, fore, or aft. And then this is the other side. This one doesn't look like it needs to be compressed very much. It's also got a lot less rubber, which means it's going to be more stiff. So we'll get to that one in a minute. We'll press that one out in a minute. So we pressed this one out, obviously. It's got to be compressed to go back in. And we were looking at this going, how in the hell do you do that? So I started playing around with hose clamps. And I think these are going to work, and I think two of them will probably do it. It seems to be relatively compliant. So we'll stick a couple of hose clamps on here. If we get it squeezed all the way down, just enough to get it started, I'll put the hose clamp on here and get it compressed down. And as we feed it in, I'll just loosen it a little bit so it can't expand too much, and we'll just press it in. They don't look to be directional. We marked it anyways, so I know that it goes there. David put a little Sharpie mark on there. I think it doesn't matter, but why not? So let's see if these hose clamps will compress this down. All right, so we got the two hose clamps on there. I staggered them, and obviously I didn't put it right on the edge here because that would keep it not flat if I put the hose clamp piece right over it. We want this to try and be as flat as possible because that's where it's going to want to stick out the most. We'll probably leave this dry. I don't think that we want to put any lube in there because it'll make it slide, and that's not supposed to slide. The bushing is supposed to rotate in the rubber. So I think that this is a good method. These are just hose clamps I had laying around. They're probably like 2.5, something like that. So we'll give this a try. I left it a little high up here at the top, and I left just enough edge to get it started here. And so we'll press it in from one side, whichever side is easier to get to, probably putting it in the press like this. And I just use a 20-ton Harbor Freight press for this. They're relatively inexpensive. So never mind that the press is totally wonky sideways, because you do what you got to do to get it started, but that looks like that's working. We got it in there. So now I'm going to try and push it down just a little bit further, and then I'm going to slowly move this clamp out of the way, and we'll just go from there. And then I can just undo the clamp completely and unwrap it from here, get it out of the way. But I think that looks like that's going. Oh yeah, that just slid right down. So actually, it's sliding through the clamp, isn't it? I think it's sliding through the clamp. We might just be able to just... Look at that. So now we can just take that clamp off of there. So we'll just back that right out. So minor problem. Nothing that we can't fix. It went a little bit sideways because this is just too big. So I'm pretty certain I can fix that just by getting the right size or just pressing this one side down. It might bend it, so I got to be careful, but I might do something like this to get that straightened out. But the hard part's not having the exact right size for this, so it's making it a little more complicated. I might use a drift and a hammer to straighten that out. Good job, David. David just, amputated his finger. Okay, so it was actually really easy to fix that. So I just kind of justified this on this side and straightened it out really carefully. I was afraid the aluminum was just going to bend over, but it didn't. So I'm starting to wonder if I can just press it from the top. I really don't want to damage the new bushing though. So maybe I just press it from this side. It's going in. It doesn't seem like it's screwing it up. Watch, it'll all be completely jacked up when I'm done. Just take it all the way off. I didn't need that anyways. All right. Should go flush when it's done, so. I think that's in. Let's take a look. If I have to adjust it, we can. Factory. Looks good. Cool. All right, well that was actually less painful than I thought that it would be. So there's the poor man's way of putting the bushing into a lower control arm for a BMW. So just another note on changing these. I didn't even, when I pressed this one out, I kind of figured it's really much tighter with the rubber than these were. So I just used this drift that I have and just pressed on the center, and it compressed the rubber a ways, and then it just popped, and David jumped back 15 feet and it came out. So anyways, that's just a good note. You don't need to like try and focus on getting on the outside of this. Unless the bushing is totally wasted, you should just be able to push it out from the center, and it will press out. I'm known for pushing the envelope on things, and I killed the hose clamp. That's something I should have mentioned if I didn't, that I knew was possible. You can over tighten hose clamps, obviously. I was concerned that I wouldn't even be able to compress them without stripping them out first, and I stripped one out. So when they get to the point where you basically can't turn them anymore with like a 1/4 inch ratchet like this, then you know that you've tightened it too far. And that's about it. So we're gonna have to try and get it in like that, but it's not compressed as far as I would like, but I think it's compressed far enough to go in. It's like just barely is gonna work. Maybe? I mean, it'll start for sure. It's just not. Yeah, so much for aligning the slit too. We gave up on that about 20 minutes ago. Oops. All right. Not the end of the world. Make sure you wear sandals like I am when you're doing this kind of work too. It's good for your toes. No, seriously, don't do that. Don't be stupid like me. But yeah, wow. I really made that crooked. Alright, so similar process on this one. It would help if I used the right size. That's why I got stuck before. So I already pushed it in just a little bit. It's pressed down. I'm not leaving clearance yet. Actually, I don't need to leave clearance at all because when I press this in, it's going to be flush anyways. So we don't have to leave clearance because we're not pressing it out the other side. So I already got it down to the first clamp. I'm going to remove this clamp. It seems that these are easier to get in than they are to get out, which is quite honestly the opposite of what I thought would be the case. But it seems like, as you can see, it seems like they like to go in. So let me see, is it going to press through the clamp at all? It seems like it is. So that's kind of a nice feature because I don't have to fight with moving the clamp. And I am deforming things just slightly, so we got to be careful of that. But okay, let's stop there. Well, so at this point, we've got the hose clamp far enough. We've got it down far enough where we can just remove the second hose clamp. It's going to be held in place at this point by the control arm itself because we have to get this out of the way. We don't want it. See, it's already starting to kind of drag it in. So we'll just take the Get this out of here. And now it should, if thinking about this correctly, it should just go all the way in. That should be it. Let's take a look and make sure it went around evenly, but I think that it did. Oh, that looks good. That came out really nice. All right, so that's the first control arm. Just like they say, as movie magic goes, we'll have the second one done now. All right, so they're done. Just like that. What are some takeaways here? Well, first of all, I want to clarify too, these are the rear swing arms. I called them control arms because I didn't watch you pull them off. I just saw bushings. So the takeaways are, you know, the hose clamps work. They do break. You got to be careful about over tightening them because you're using hose clamps for what you're not supposed to use them for. But luckily I've got, you know, a collection of like 10,000 of these. So, you know, do that. You're going to need, this is a ball joint kit from like Harbor Freight. This sort of worked, you know, it would be better to have something that was sized properly. You know, a socket might work, but I didn't really have anything in my collection that was any better than this. So you're going to need that. You're going to need a press. But in general, they're really not all that hard. They're less hard to install than I thought they would be. So anyways, that's the rear swing arms for a 640?
650.
A 650 BMW.